Good evening and welcome to Story Hour. I'm tonight's host, Laura Blackwell. My co-host, Daniel Marcus, started Story Hour during the very beginning of shelter-in-place orders to help people stay together while we were physically apart. And even in those periods when people have been able to gather, I personally have really loved being here with all of you every Wednesday. And it's so great to see so many of you coming back as well. So welcome back. And welcome also to those of you joining us for the first time. As always, we have two writers reading for their favorite nonprofits, and tonight's readers are Talulah J. Sullivan and Zhang. If you are fortunate enough to help others during this time, please consider a donation to tonight's featured nonprofits, No More Silence and the Equal Justice Initiative. Talulah J. Sullivan is reading for No More Silence. No More Silence honors the lives of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirits. No More Silence maintains a community-run database documenting violent deaths of Indigenous women, Two-Spirit, and trans in collaboration with Families of Sisters in Spirit, community partner the Native Youth Sexual Health Network, and with the assistance of Dr. Janet Smiley and Conrad Prince of the Well Living House at the Keenan Research Center. Its intention is to create a space for family members to honor the lives of their loved ones, to balance the death-related details that the media tends to overfocus on. You can learn more at itstartswithus-mmiw.com. Zhang is reading for the Equal Justice Initiative. The Equal Justice Initiative is committed to ending mass incarceration and excessive punishment in the United States, to challenging racial and economic injustice, and to protecting basic human rights for the most vulnerable people in American society. EJI is a private nonprofit organization that provides legal representation to people who have been illegally convicted, unfairly sentenced, or abused in state jails and prisons. EJI challenges the death penalty and excessive punishment and provides reentry assistance to formerly incarcerated people. EJI works with communities that have been marginalized by poverty and discouraged by unequal treatment. You can learn more at ejI.org. If you're here on Zoom, feel free to leave your camera on. It can be very nice for us to make eye contact sometimes. And chime in on the text chat on Zoom if you like, off to the right. If you're joining us on Facebook, thank you, but please understand that we may not be seeing your messages right away. So our first reader tonight is Talulah J. Sullivan. Talulah J. Sullivan has been a pro-equestrian, a dancer, an actor, an activist, and a teacher who has learned as much from her 2- and 4-legged students as she's ever shared with them. Yet she's never managed to not be a storyteller, ever. Being a result of one of the original Hands Across the Water's cross-cultural exchanges, Scots-Irish and Choctaw-Chickasaw, has inspired her to write Blood Indigo, an Indigenous literary fantasy debut. She has also, as J. Tullis Hennig, written the historical fantasy series The Wood, which reimagines Robin Hood as a queer, chaotic, neutral druid. Talulah, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Laura, and to all your crew as well.
We are delighted to have you here.
I'll just go ahead and start then, shall I?
Please.
This is a short story named Kindling, and it is roughly connected to the Blood Indigo universe. So, he is lost, and never to be found. Forever, it seems, has he bided with his own, and forever has he longed to follow sun's journey outward, to trail the wake of brother and sister moons. Forever has the yearning lurked, escape from extremes of fecund and flood in unchanging ways, seeking new paths, new lands. Aye, forever has he wanted to go. He wants to wend and wander and see. Dawn is left long behind. Kin and clan made sacrifice to possibility, with tearful farewells to river and rainforest lodging. Only now, moss-damped puffs to dust, leaving gray ghosts upon the calloused sepia of shins and feet. Only now treekin become less tall, less of wet, thick conifers, and more of stately ancients spreading, reaching out for their brethren's touch, gathering at little rivers nestled in rocky valleys between sparse brush and steep hills. Only now he is lost. His nostrils curl dry as stony crags begin to drop into chasms. Desolate spaces open out dizzily past him in the dusty hues of a summering heart's pelt. He keeps to the tree line, past it, beneath and beyond. This land lies as lone and lonely as he. Whatever possessed him to wander so far from dawn alone? His only defense is spear and knife and sling. Perhaps that wildish strain, the spirit knowing which but trickles in his siblings and rushes rapids in his own veins, will demand its price. His uncanny curiosity has been the end of him. He will roam this oddly mix of never-ending sky and quasi-familiar forest until he walks, to leave behind mere desiccated bones amidst rock and tangled roots. He will be another of whom lore keepers warn, another heart gone a wander beneath spirit voices. Those lore keepers gave him a birthing name, but it has long been forgotten beneath what name his tribe placed upon him. He is clever, quick, and troublesome, so name-kin to Sha'akfo he remains, Sha'akfo the trickster, Sha'akfo the fool, one with hairkin who dance in moons-lit forest glades. The trickster's namesake can no more resist the horizon in the game than refuse a new dance, or the song circuit, or berries sweet with rain's kiss. Aye, this land might keep him, but he will not simply lie down and let it take him. He must first find water. To that end, Sha'akfo traces animal-kinned paths. Those shift and turn and wind inward, whispers keeping secrets whole. Yet this language he understands. His senses tune, scent and vision and sound acute as he comes to the brook, clear running over party-colored stones. He drinks, plunging his face into sweet, sharp chill, then rises, sated, to shake the wet away. Then, only then, how? Does he see another reflection, indistinct and rippled, and he kens he is no longer alone. Eyes snare him, strange and round and nigh fathomless, no gleaming, no reflections, no dark sight like his own. An ebon mane wafts across them, woven with snowbuds like tiny white stars grazing night. Cheekbones rise high, but narrow and naked, unmarked, clanless. Sha'akfo rises, unsure. His companion does likewise. Stands at least 3 and 2 hands taller, lithe as a sapling, clad in leathers pounded so fine thin they seem as tatters of tree moss whiffling in the creek hollow's breeze, all the while seeming to change, new leaves to old, then back again, as if tattered hide holds within it all the hues of wheels turning. A sea spiral the color of sky and cloud nestles upon a breastbone even paler in hue. Is a people? Is a spirit? Is a other? He tenses. Aye, the lore keepers warn of such. Chepe they call such beings. Tall ones, sorcerers, outlanders, unnatural things that would shape and twist this land to devour it entire. Yet, spirit or flesh, Chepe or people, that mouth curves like his own in what might be curiosity or a smile. Even did it unhinge like serpentkin, it could not engulf him, let alone consume earth and sky. It has 2 eyes, 2 legs, 2 arms. Is us so unalike, really? Is an it or a they? He stares across the swollen, dancing creek, long heartbeats extending, eyes meeting. And then the creature bolts. "Wait," he bursts out. The creature disappears over a rise, but he is one of the fastest runners of his clan, a keen tracker, a skilled hunter. He follows, drawn by shadows and scent, through bracken and bush and thicket to a grove of red thorn, to find a waiting for him. He slows, panting, hesitant. Yet, if he is unafraid, then perhaps so is the creature. Those eyes are strange, but not with the desperate, run-down mirrors of beaten prey. They seem calm, expectant. It is a game. His lips quirk a smile. Something sounds, perhaps a voice, perhaps laughter, in an arpeggio through forest hush. Again, the creature darts away. And again, he follows. As he does, his quarry seems to change. First, he chases a firewing, glittering, flittering from tree to tree. But not only that, a standing kind rises, shaking leaves all brown and gold to whirl away wind-tossed and wild. But then lizardkin flows boneless over the ground, green and iridescent. And then a river craft, rigged and gossamer, casting on light airs and deep, deep water. Surely no outlander could conjure such beautiful things. More like he has fallen into a dreaming to make a dance with spirits. But as he finally catches up, the being drops from a branch, pouncing upon him with warm and welcoming laughter. They sprawl upon motherland's skin, roll under and over like courting stoatkin upon sand and sear, until momentum runs its course at the upthrust roots of an old grandfather tangle tree. Laughter again resounds into the forest as they, she, for now the spirit seems a femme of his people, but longer, taller, paler, leaning over him to run cool, long fingers across the clan marks puckering his cheekbones. "I think," she says, laughing still, "you have caught me, small brown skin. Unsure I was what was needed. We are not so unalike, are we?" The words are of his people, strangely spoken, but fathomable. He grins and his companion bends closer. Laughter melds into whispers, then into sighs. Spiritkin or other, whatever she holds, surely it does not matter. They are not so unalike. Strands of pearled sable enfold him, scented warm as summering dark. Snowbuds waft about him, small white petals bruising beneath the twining of sturdy fingers. Her feet are slender, toes even numbered instead of odd. He never thought to find such a thing exciting, but he runs his tongue along the high instep, and there are calluses there. These feet, like to his, have long been unshod. Her body is too pale, more milk and moon's light than ochre sand and sun rising, but made of whipcord and green sap vine. She is strong, strong as any playmate he is tangled with, her pale skin shivering and accepting his touch, curve of belly arching against his cheek, and slick heat pulsing, giving to his questing fingers. Not so unalike, there is this to share. She sings, voice throbbing and whispering, wordless echoes into hills and trees, and his voice rises with her, urgent and hoarse as her limbs wrap about his own, smooth binders holding him close, drawing him in. And beneath and behind her unchanging gaze, something finally flares. Some kindling of tiny sparks and sputters, shining glitter silver, as if all stars hanging in sky's vast realm would think to alight behind her eyes. In. Other. He tears his gaze from hers. Are they still here in this land? Is she the one now taking him and into some forgotten place? He digs calloused fingers into earth. looks to sky, sees. This starlight he has never known. These are not his eyes of loved ones walked, looking down. No baskets spilling out to map hoops turning. No fierce guardians of grandmother's children. These stars are all spirits, endless fire and searing wind, molten earth and steaming rain. First of serpentkin shaping uncountable nows, colliding behind and expanding forward in writhing infernos. Passed before the first mud dippers broke the surface of grandmother's great river and brought forth her earth, before his own kin drew their first breath of wind. Stars, which will light the indigo black long after he and his are scattered dust, and will finally spend their furnace of uncountable rhythms long after grandmother's shell has sunken into frozen and timeless dreams, consumed by dying star that is sunbringer. Long fingers clutch and pain his temples, pulling him from star thrall, time thrall. He has never beheld such hoops uncountable. Yet there is no escape there either. She is of stars, her gaze no longer flat, but a reflection of indigo sinking into white, blinding flares and crystalline cloud shards. Her spirit holds it, hums with it, builds a song of making he has never heard, a deep-set shaping that tears him from himself and throws him, small and unweaponed, into never-ending. She feels it, falters. For the first time, there is fear within her. For him. But he too is strong. Innocence is not ignorance. Sha'akfo knows not this ageless abyss of other, has no star-filled aria filling his eyes. Instead, his spirit thrums into darkness, stalks his soundless shadow, digs deep an ephemeral rhythm born of loss and pain and fierce, wild joy. He does not know her dance, but he has his own, just as primal, just as powerful. River's own and child of grandmother, firekeeper and windsinger, his spirits do not commingle to combust, but exist as brethren of another, separate but intertwined, merging, belonging. He is never lost as long as he can breathe and sing, scent and touch, dance and see and weep the hoop. It curls, twines within and about, resistance and understanding murmuring from some small secret place, as he gathers up the strands and winds, never ending, into now. For this now is here, peace and sated calm wrapped heavy close. Wind whispers content over warm, sweated flesh. And if stars flare hot behind his sight, he also sees river and land in hers, commingled, gentled. I would stay always with you. She speaks as people's talk, faltering but able. Yet I cannot. My fate still hangs, bound elsewhere. But we are changed, and she hesitates. I would not undo this shaping even if I could. He knows the admittance should give him fear. Instead, he lies against grandmother's belly, grounded deep with his belonging, tasting alien, yearning like honey. Stars rise behind his eyes akin to infinite, tiny hoops for dancing. His blood rises to its challenge, makes it own, even as the stars in her eyes bring that dance into making. But he is tired, and the steps falter. Her eyes close, dimming starlight. She smiles, draws the sea's spiral charm from her throat and threads it over his head. This, then, it is yours. Smooth shell gleams, nestling against his breast. It warms and makes him quiver, makes the stars gentle and laps still quiet. If stars call to you all too strident, this will give you peace. Perhaps no safer or better place beneath the stars exists for such than here with you and now. Keep it safe, and I will see your people safe, even from mine. He makes a move as if to protest. I shall come back to you, to what comes of our making, until such a time as we can always bide together beneath our hills. I make oath with you, he answers back. I will be here. They make their way down and outward to the forest edges and beside a little river valley. Into the stones and sere of a foothill he delves, a set, deep and safe and solid, and departs for dawn but once to carry back the news. There are trees to satisfy a forest people, but also agile game upon a lonely, lovely expanse of roan grass as far as the eye can see, and wind carrying a familiar breath from upland, a sienna silt riverling, like, yet unalike. They come, few at first, then more, to roam the grassy sea and settle into land both new and this now, clan roots sinking deep, tribes ever connected by blood and oath. Yet Sha'akfo's place remains sacrosanct, honored with purpose and protection. It is said he speaks with spirits, that his love mate is unknown one, the changing spirit who brought the riding kin and the Shinkte to Dusklands. Others say the love mate is a ghost eyes, a chepe whose shapings Sha'akfo captured and tamed with a sea fetish. And when one summering he emerges from his cavern hold, cradling a child whose tip-tilted eyes gleam with indigo darkside and stars, ever rarer is unknown one seen. As their daughter runs the hills, fleet of foot and heart and spirit, Sha'akfo watches, caressing the spiral at his throat. I swear I shall come back to you, to what comes of our making, until such a time as we can always bide together beneath our hills. Some would say he's lost, but Sha'akfo knows he's found. And that's the end. Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful descriptions. I could practically smell the forest.
I love the forest. I live in a forest and I love it. I love it.
There's nothing like it.
No.
We always take a breath between the two different stories because, I don't know, breathe in the last of one story, I guess. Get ready for the next one. Thank you.
Thank you. It was lovely to tell this story.
It was lovely for us to hear it as well. And our next reader tonight is Hao Wai Zhang. Hao Wai Zhang is a lapsed physicist who splits her time between the East Coast of the United States and the internet. Her speculative stories and poetry are in Uncanny Magazine, Future Tense, Fireside, and Strange Horizons. Her language and lost poetry chapbook Amnesia was published by Newfound and won the Eric Hoffer Micropress Award. Congratulations. And her Women with Sharp Things collection, Goddess Bandit of the Thousand Arms, was published by Aqueduct Press. You can find her at howwaizhang.com or at howwaizhang on Critter. Nice. Twitter. That would be Twitter. And that's How, like the robot, Y, the letter Y, Zhang. Hal, welcome. Thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again. I'm glad I didn't mess up.
Our pleasure.
I didn't mess up enough last time, apparently. So.
Oh, I just took care of all that. All the messing up is done for tonight. You heard me.
All right. So just like last time, I'm going to read two stories on the shorter side. And this time they're both about like Chinese immigrant experiences and heritage and all that. And they do touch on some 20th century Chinese history, which was a dark time. So be aware of that. There's nothing like super explicit, but yeah, they're not really happy. So I hope you're ready. Okay. So yeah, so the first one is titled The Empathy Lessons, and it's forthcoming in Fireside. And thanks to them for letting me read it before it's actually officially published. So you're seeing it for the first time, or hearing it, I guess. All right. First flush jasmine, opium sweet, a floral body dipping in the mattress of my tongue, but not real. Neither are the visitors, blinking at their new bodies in front of unfamiliar low tables, cup and cloth, so they can play at ceremony. I swirl the drops in a circuit around my palate, the rough front veneers of my teeth. Let my throat open without resistance as pleasantries fly in the background. Pasts and presents, differences imposed by latitude, elevation, money, no more similar than my own. But somehow I am the foreign one, chosen to lead them through what they are not prepared for. I clear my virtual throat. The first day of school chatter transmutes into taut expectation. Wait enough to suspend beliefs for the next few millennia. Do you know why you're here? 100 nods. If at any time you want to stop the experience, remove your visors. Due to the verisimilitude of the lesson, you may not remember that this is an option. There is also a large red button in the simulation that serves as an emergency stop. Another 100 nods. No one thinks they will be the person to stop early, but some do every time. It's not a fun technology-enabled vacation where you shop around your feelings, buy one, get another culture for free. Any questions? The blonde woman smiles wide. I just want to say thank you for doing this. I love China and I'm so excited. She holds a virtual hand to her virtual heart. I don't say anything. The turn of my palm initiates the program and the living room melts into the yellow river, cradling us with lapping water. We've surfaced at an altar, replete with bronze goblets of sweet 4-millennium-old wine, a completed ritual. The visitors stand awkwardly in a pack, not knowing the significance of the curled carvings and animal heads. Some look to me for instruction, but I do not react. A man in robes reaches out to touch the goblet and it disappears, swirling into wooden pillars and a royal procession. Concubines in summer silks, scurrying servants with lanterns and a lacquered palanquin. Golden embroidery fluttering around the 8 bearers who are under and around opulence, but not within it. In this parlor, we learn 1 century per minute. The walls, the wingless dragons, the ancient tortures. Their eyes widen. Yes, we have them too where we're from, and skyward towers and cruelty. Empathy. The understanding that the world does not see itself through your eyes, the acceptance thereof. We go to corners of the empire, see the camels on the Silk Road, meet people of all colors, sing their songs. The students would never have guessed are Chinese. We enter the heads of merchants, magistrates, and emperors until the rice paddies flood over our peasant selves. The peasants work to death. The merchants undercut peasants. The magistrates undercut merchants, and the emperor cuts off magistrate heads. Through it all, history's wheel spins our spotted tapestry. I don't look away as the Qing falls. There's only pain for a very long time, punctuated by clinking notification bells as people jettison themselves from genocide. Where did it go wrong? The blood fades into clean bamboo and rice paper. We're back in a fake parlor, simulated light pooling around us. The same blonde woman is crying hysterically, and she's not the only one. I'm not supposed to do anything now. Just wait, as a guide does, hand in lap, fake tea cooling. Maybe it's too much to be burned alive as your loved ones are murdered. Not everyone can wear the thorns of another people's pain for an hour of make-believe. I resist the urge to harden. I'm teaching for a reason, and these people came of their own accord to learn. That alone makes them vastly better than most. The empathy lessons are designed to increase cross-cultural understanding and communication. By vicariously experiencing the history of the people, participants gain an instinctive and visceral understanding of the past and present of the target culture. Our surveys have shown that 80% of participants report significantly increased positive feelings toward a target culture post-lesson, defined as greater than 2 points on the US scale, with 95% confidence. We find in a follow-up study that this effect persists for months beyond the lessons. Usually, there are a few questions from the crowd. If you started off so advanced, why did you become so weak? Is it true what I read on the internet that the Second World War was faked? Why? As if I'm all of China, as if I have any answers. Did you go through the lessons yourself? Someone asks. That I can answer. I did. It was a Lunar New Year present from my grandparents, thinking it would be good education for their granddaughter who was ashamed of being Chinese. After my lessons, I couldn't leave my bed for a week. Did you know all that before? I would laugh if it is inappropriate, so I shake my head instead. My previous knowledge of China was pieced together from one chapter of a 6th grade social studies textbook, a diorama, and hundreds of stories from my parents, and a tongue too hard for me to understand, so I never tried. Tour guides must treat the exercise with impartiality. In scenarios with disturbing or difficult content, participants often seek reassurance from the authority figure in a room, but the emotional work of processing, absorbing, and learning from the experiences does not fall to the tour guide, nor should it. Precautionary tales of unhealthy attachments developed during the lessons look no further than the following examples. ... It would be an understatement to say that my grandparents and friends and therapists were surprised I took the job. Who wants to relive the rise and fall over and over in a masochist time loop? Perhaps I do it because I feel a responsibility to the virtual figures wearing my nose and eyes and voice. And maybe because between the sessions, I can play with the 19th century over and over in the simulator, trying for a better ending. What if the British didn't give us drugs in exchange for hard work? What if we didn't accept that? What if those with power didn't become complacent and naive, thinking they could trade and placate until the end of time? Sometimes things turn out better, sometimes even worse. One day, when I'm brave enough, I'll start over from the beginning and redesign every person in rice grain in the newest version, microtuning all possible parameters, make everyone a bit taller or a bit meaner, and try again. Slowly, the people in tears fade and I'm back in my own head. Hundreds more are in the waiting room because they don't know what they've signed up for. I let them all in. Oh, that's it. All right, I will now segue to the next story. Don't really have a segue, but this is a ghost story. Maybe that's why there's this spooky lighting. And it's not completely done yet. And so if you see it in the future out there in the wild, it might be a little bit different, but here's what I've got. So this is called 7 by 7. "49 days and you haven't shown up. 50 now, I suppose, since It's 7 minutes past midnight. Maybe ghosts operate on their own time. It's still 49 somewhere on Earth. I'm hardly an expert in the afterlife. I learned from those concubine dramas we watched on the secondhand television, squeezed together on the secondhand couch. You'd crack watermelon seeds, perfect, and eat them with one hand, shells falling out like a machine gun because your other is busy holding a cigarette. You'd never share. Learn to do it yourself, you'd huff. I barely understood half the dialogue in those shows, the cycle of corruption and betrayal and grief, while licorice-flavored shell fragments in their ringing are stuck between my teeth. But I know 7 by 7. It's a Buddhist thing. 49 days stuck in the bardo or whatever it's called in Chinese, and then you go somewhere. This is the day the spirits of wronged concubines show up and drive the evil concubines to madness. It was always your favorite part, the comeuppance, when you'd cackle as the camera zoomed in on a conniving woman now ruined, tears running across her modern waterproof foundation, the seams of her wig like artificial rows of doll hair in the close-up. Look, I've put out your favorite foods too, but only flies came, the small ones that linger forever after they show up. Chinese restaurant style orange slices, the wriggling maggots love them. Sichuan mala fish, the only thing you can taste near the end. There are even fly bodies floating in the scarlet oil, but it's too dark to worry about them now. Your eulogy was hard to write. I think of our rituals, going to the mall on the weekends to collect free perfume sticks and vials, both of us rotating between stores, enough to remember all the sales girls, so we don't lose face from showing up twice in a day. Me waiting for them to be busy with other customers to spray 3, 4, or 5 sample cardstock sticks and take them out in sleeves of the jackets I stole from the lost and found box at school after they'd been unclaimed for a while. Every morning I sneaked them out of the trash after used papers to cover the cigarette smell before work. After school, doing my homework in the salon back room, in the restaurant at the table with the owner's kids, I'd doodle on the cardstock, pretending I'm a millionaire who can afford whole books of this impossibly nice paper. So I said, throat choked close, I said you gave everything for me to have a better life. They should put that line in the Hallmark aisle, a pastel immigrant parent tab, sandwiched between husband and just because. Except you wouldn't appreciate that sentiment while being alive. But your ghost? Dying changes people, I hear. The blinds flutter in a sudden gust of urban wind. The candles dip, but the flames struggle back to their feet. If I lower my disbelief enough, I can pretend everything is a manifestation of you, that you scraped your phantom fingers across the dimly lit offerings here in search of a hit. I didn't burn any Joss cigarettes for you, but cousin did on your fresh grave. They make everything in 2 forms nowadays, plastics for the living and red gold paper for the ghosts. And the incense won't do for a hit. The scent makes me want to choke. It smells nothing like your Pall Malls, which in turn pale in comparison to the carcinogens you grew up with. But the happiest days of your life are when cousin returned from China, a bag of white rabbit candy and a sweater for me, and endless double happiness packs for you in every pocket and rolled into socks so they don't get dented from enthusiastic luggage handling. Can't hurt to be too careful. And the floor is red now, like the color of those packs. Environmental pollution from the nightclub neon 3 windows down. The same windows that don't move anymore, stuck a finger's width from the frame thanks to daily applications of generous airborne cooking grease from the ventless kitchen. You said it was good to get fresh air anyways. Along with the fresh air during the day are honks from the ceaseless tributary of cars, hawkers with their bruised, delicious fruit, whiffs of durian pastry from a bakery next door, giggling Americans on their first trip to Chinatown. Even now, the night lives on in streaks of lingering marijuana, drunken scrapes of stiletto against concrete. The world doesn't have to forget you when it never cared. But I remember. I always will. Some nights I'd be doodling in this very spot, flop belly down like a fish with legs propped up against a wall, and you'd burst in with arms full of haggled groceries. Oh yeah, the floor is dirty. And that's why I wait for you here. The door rattles. Yeah, are you in here? It's not you. The talking door that isn't you isn't very smart either, because it's not even locked. We'd long lost the key, but not wanting to fork up the $30 to the landlord for a replacement, we jammed the door such that it can only be opened if we shift it up and then in like a video game cheat code. The door coughs some more like a smoker's lung, then gives in with a loud croak. In the yellow light of the hallway, a 6-foot shadow and Kiara squirrel. Yeah, are you still here? Footsteps, then the white light of a cell phone, a modern candle. Cousin's face above it, color of jaundiced beeswax, eyes sunken as if gouged from a death mask. An unflattering campfire scare vantage. The shadow turns and circles. The fuck is all this? There's a sound of crumbling, him running into my hard work here and there. Instead of a ghost, I've trapped a clumsy man by his good intentions. Hi, yeah. His voice wades through tar sometime later, like the echo bounced a few times from the other side of a canyon. I haven't seen cousin for years before the funeral. I remember thinking he looked so different from the kid sneaking contraband for you, in a way I never could have predicted. Like how when you were a kid growing up in a well-to-do Chinese bourgeoisie family, you probably never imagined you would end up wiping tables on the other side of the world while struggling to raise a daughter. That's life. Cousin's here, no doubt, to tell me to leave with him, eat something, ply me with worldly comforts. But I'm too tired, too rooted to leave my spot, the wall and the side of the bed, keeping me corporeal. Yeah. He tries again like I've made of glass. But I'm made of smoke. Double happiness brand, I almost say. Except it's not a good time to joke. He seems much more real than I am. His form in the darkness is a hulking absence of shadow, itself a shadow of a different shade in a way that I can't quite put into words. You might call it a Chinese ghost. Way. I don't know what the character looks like, but I picture the pinched shape of your mouth when you say it, eyes darting into the immaterial realm. Not ghost, you would always say. Chinese word, totally different from English. But you never taught me the real meaning. Too complicated, you'd say. There's a Chinese holiday where people sweep the tombs of their ancestors and burn offerings. I know this from Wikipedia. Your tombs, our tombs are thousands of miles away. If you ever thought of them, you never showed it. They died with you too. I bring my hand closer to the candle at my feet. The flame pulls away and looks for life in a different direction. When's the last time you ate? I shrug. I wasn't thinking about it, but now he's put my emptiness on a spotlight. My stomach, the boa licks its insides, threatening to invert itself and swallow the whole scene. Why don't you come stay with me? I have a futon. I can't explain why I must stay here, so I don't. Do you know how long you've been here? Of course I do. 7 by 7. I know you're upset. He squats down next to the bed as if taming a wild animal, but I don't bite. And I'm not upset. I'm waiting for you. He doesn't understand. Auntie wouldn't want you to sit here all day. I laugh. You wouldn't let me leave the hospital for days. Even now, I reek of disinfectant in the end. Something trembles behind me, a side that's only a wall, dirty off-white with clouds of pencil scrawls from the previous inhabitant. Then a stronger shake, a scratchy sound. A kindred spirit to me, living in its own liminal boundary. What is that? Cousin's voice blurs like shaken water. The sound doubles and morphs, shifting into an urgent tapping. The creak of sweaty fingers slipping along wood, layered with drumming of something yearning to escape. Must be a rat. Cousin doesn't need to convince me when his true target should be himself. Of course, I understand the compulsion for speech. Who isn't afraid of the dark, thinking that logical patterns of sound will beat back what awaits them in the shadows? You always said I was a rat in my past life because I was never scared of them, even when I was young. I got my share of spankings over the years, but the first I remember was bent over in the kitchen after you found the peanut butter globs I studded on the inset linoleum. Why are you so stupid? You screamed in English. You have too much food you need to give to rat? I give your food to rat. I don't know why you only used English when angry. One might think that a second tongue is harder to use in emotional situations, but perhaps you were afraid I wouldn't understand Mandarin, and it was important that I understood. Not that it mattered because I render everything you say into English through my one-way ears. Sometimes I wonder if I am the proverbial Chinese room, already conveniently named for me. Red carpet, long enough for comfort and endless dust. Chinese comes in, responses go out according to my algorithm. Or maybe yelling in English was easier for you. After all, people yelled at you in English all day. People who complained of the slow service, left no tip, and gave 1 star online. What's Lawai's problem? You asked rhetorically one day while I worked on triangle similarity proofs on the round table with one short leg. Why they want me to smile and ask them how the food is? It's a restaurant, not mine, doctor. Waste of time. There wasn't that much time to waste, it turns out. I could see the train slowly rolling towards you from a distance and did nothing. But then again, you hardly wanted to leave the tracks. We said bad words. Both of us did, and me for the first time that it mattered. What did you expect, smoking 5 packs a day? If Chinese medicine works so well, wouldn't Chinese people live longer? Wouldn't we be happy? The candles dip even dimmer. The dark mountain that is cousin quakes as a previously unremarkable fleck of peeling drywall, an arm span from where we sit, lurches forward, making a tiny cone as a pencil pushing out of paper. Tap, tap. In moments like this, however fleeting, we're all believers. He scurries into the darkness and emerges with the kitchen broom, armed with his piercing artificial pocket candle. The cluster of sweat around his brow is mesmerizing, like a circlet, a Western holy thing among my incantations. He pushes the broom back against the cone, and a hole crumples in the wall, thin as eggshell. What the? His further words are swallowed as a loud screech emanates from the wall. The hole is faintly vibrating with sound as if fingernails are scraping along the inside of a shell. What the hell? There's something in here. Cousin's wobbly fingers pressed against the edge as he digs into the boundary. The woman's voice comes out, 3, 4 syllables. I can't understand the words, but the timbre is unmistakable. A spirit, haunted and shriveled inside a rusted body, coerced to move. There's a thin, cold line of something dripping, like a tear on my arm. Have you really come back? Surely there are no other vengeful ghosts in this apartment, living rent-free in the walls and floor all this time. But I always imagined you bursting through the door, broad daylight, as if nothing happened. Skulking around isn't your style at all. There's a cloud of smoke, Then cousin emerges from the wall with a dusty box in his hand. From the bulky black plastic, it's obviously a relic from a few decades ago. The woman's voice rings out clearer. It's a pop song, I think. Maybe 90s canto pop. The stuff you like to hum under your breath when you thought no one was listening, missing every note and inventing new ones. He shakes it. How did it get in there? I laugh, but I don't hear any sound, so I laugh louder. Of course you would show up like this. Something scurries by my feet, then a whole host of dark furry things pour out through the hole. Cousin screams. His shadow moves as fast as a rat, then the hallway light disappears with him. In one of your rare philosophical moments, you said something like, "You're not an adult until you've had dreams you can't tell a soul about." I believe this because I remember being young, when the distinction between sleeping and waking was as clear as plastic cutlery, when everything good and bad I held on to, like collectible marbles begged from classmates. I remember being young enough to ask this. And now I sit here with my past lives for company. I feel their tiny feet stream across. They're gnawing on the moldy oranges, on everything they can find. They eat the last lights of the candles. Freedom, heady with its own retro soundtrack. I seep onto the floorboards, becoming the spreading thing. I taste the intricate layers of grease lacquer on the linoleum. I hear the neighbors gossip and fight as I chew through the lattice guts of the building, spew out the windows like clenched vowels and frying grease. I eat Chinatown. It tastes like you're singing. That's it. Thank you so much, everyone.
What a night of stories, Daniel.
Yeah. Great work, both of you. Thank you so much.
Such beautiful writing. Sorry I kept ducking out. I just had to keep cleaning myself up. First story made me blush, and the next two made me cry. So all in all, a very good night of stories. Thank you both so much. Well, we do this every week. It's a little different every week, actually often very different. Next week, we're going to have Elwyn Cotman and S.G. Brown, and you can keep up to date about all the upcoming authors at storyhour2020.com, and you can see any programs you may have missed on the Story Hour page on Facebook. Sometimes I like to go back and just watch some of my favorites or watch a part I missed a little bit of too. Talulah J. Sullivan, Zhang, thank you so much for reading for us tonight. This was really phenomenal.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
all
you.
for coming. Yes.
We're just so glad that you were here with us. And thank you, Daniel Marcus, my wonderful co-host, founder of Story Hour, the guy who brought us all here in the first place. And thank you to all of you who came to listen to the stories and interact with us. It really makes it a very, very nice way to spend a Wednesday sitting around the virtual campfire with you. Thank you all for joining us in spinning the fictive dream. Good
Thanks,
night.
everybody. Good night.